like to start off by thanking the Microsoft Mixed Reality team for hosting this series and supporting new storytelling tools. I'm Brendan Bradley, an actor and scrappy storyteller, and I'm honored to be speaking today from inside the set of the live virtual reality theater production of my play, Jettison, to offer a glimpse of what's possible when artists use open source technology to reopen American theaters. I'm going to be running the show off of my phone, so if you don't mind, I have a brief presentation and then I'm going to sit down at my computer for a more traditional Q&A. As theaters around the world shut down last year, the entire entertainment industry had to navigate what I consider to be the trifecta of virtual entertainment: live performance, immersive technology, and accessibility. Last March, I found myself at the intersection of a decade of producing fringe theater in New York City and new media content in Los Angeles. 5 years ago, I founded the Integrative Technology Lab at New York University, and when the school shut down last spring, our students repurposed their assignment as their actual classroom by meeting and performing in virtual reality. This caused theater companies all over the world to reach out to me about how to take their own virtual productions outside of the Brady Bunch boxes, but we kept encountering the same challenge of access. Access to hardware, access to software, access to performers, access to audiences, access to the show itself. Should owning a specific piece of equipment or platform determine whether you get to tell your story or watch someone else's? We needed a ubiquitous solution to bring live, interactive, immersive storytelling to the most number of people with the least number of resources. I called it the future stages. And it's live, so of course the cue won't fire. There we go. I called it the future stages, which is a complete theater-going experience built on Mozilla Hubs, which is an open WebXR platform that can be accessed on almost any device's web browser. So a virtual reality headset, a computer, a smartphone, or a tablet. It was originally intended to be a remote collaboration tool, but in an era of Zoom theater and TikTok musicals, there's no wrong way to leverage technology for entertainment. So I designed a 3D model of a theater in Blender and optimized it as a GLTF file that could be uploaded to Mozilla's cloud-based world-building tool called Spoke. Then I took this Spoke project and shared it everywhere I could online. With the future stages, we have the ability to host live performance in 3D immersive virtual reality that is accessible to any audience or creator via their web browser. Trifecta. I was approached by XR evangelist David Gotchfield, Alex Coulomb, Kevin Laibson, and Roman Miletic, who wanted to experiment with live theater in XR. Ironically, these technologists have become some of my closest friends and collaborators during the shutdown, even though we've never met in real life. After hours of rehearsing in VR, my brain can't tell the difference. We had the team, we had the theater, now we just needed the show. Jettison is a dark comedy about three strangers stranded in a lifeboat, starving on the open ocean. Two of them discover that one of them is hiding a pet rabbit, and the obvious conversation ensues. The play was originally produced in a rooftop swimming pool in New York City. The audience sat around the water, and the actors performed in a boat that I hand-built. If you think 3D modeling is hard, try sanding fiberglass. The play went on to be published and produced on more traditional stages, but it was always somewhat problematic, given the necessity of a boat and a rabbit. However, in virtual reality, these challenges merely become choices. We can replace the floor of the theater with an ocean, spawn a 3D rabbit, and have the actors join as live-action web cameras or puppet virtual avatars. The audience could attend from anywhere in the world on almost any device and even interact with us before, during, and after the show. But Brendan, why are you talking about all this? I thought you said it was accessible. Why don't we experience it for ourselves? So I'm going to go into my web browser and head over to a URL that is running the future stages with some customizations for our show, Jettison. And when you think about it, live theater actually already includes an organic onboarding process. I spawn outside the building, I'm directed to the box office where house managers and ushers set my expectations, troubleshoot any problems, and guide me to my seat. Our audiences actually expressed comfort over the familiarity of this ritual. They know the rules. They know this world. They merely have to discover their new role within it. Unlike some of the more unpleasant behaviors in other online spaces, our audience actually brought the etiquette of the physical venue to the virtual space. To date, it's still the only place in VR I've been where I've heard participants say, "Excuse me," when their avatars accidentally bump into each other. Now, I can't see my avatar right now, but I'm a default robot that I can choose when I log into the space. And I can use my mouse to click and drag to look around the room, or use Q and E on the keyboard to turn incrementally. Then I can use my arrow keys to walk around the space, just like a video game. Hold down spacebar to interact with a variety of objects. And I can activate my microphone or my web camera to chat with other attendees. And then I can head into the theater, choose my seat, sit down, and watch the show. Now, for our first production, we wanted to handcuff ourselves to the same level of access that anybody would have using the space. So we used Mozilla's free server, which limits participation to about 30 people, and we used the default robot avatars, as well as Creative Commons models from Google Poly and Sketchfab, which is actually built right into the platform. So this meant that any collaborator during rehearsals could bring in a rehearsal prop or a scenic element right on the fly. You can also drag and drop media right into the browser, and it will start to play, like this music cue. You can download the open source code for Mozilla Hubs and run your own iteration. But again, we wanted to limit what we could do to what anybody could do. So when we really wanted to get fancy, our stage manager would actually inject JavaScript directly into their web browser, and it would then update on all the other instances. This allowed us to spawn specific objects or send objects to specific coordinates, like this video screen that you can watch raise and lower on command. Our incredible actors, who are pictured here, Nikan Robinson, Nick Carrillo, and Ashley Clements, and myself, actually lived in 3 different cities when we did the show and did not own VR headsets. So we worked with a company called LBX Immersive to ship out headsets for the rehearsal and performance process, and then they returned them after the show. So what is it like to perform in virtual reality? Let me get myself sat down here, move this out of the way, grab my headset, and log in. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that with my default robot avatar, got to get the right controllers, always the hardest part. I actually get hands in this space. Let me orient myself so my virtual body and physical body are both turned towards the camera. Hello, greetings. This is my little robot avatar. And the paddles give me these hands that allow me to gesture and interact with objects a lot more naturally. And costume changes are as simple as a click of a button. So here's our puppet avatar, played by Ashley Clements. Our default robot, Ezra, played by Nikan Robinson. Our default robot, Ryan, played by Nick Carrillo. And default robot, Charlie, played by myself. And here is my bunny avatar, and I spawned an emoji to applaud for it. Now, you can customize all these objects and avatars if you know a little bit of modeling. So for example, here is a picture of me scanned to readyplayer.me that generates a rigged and ready avatar. Some of you might recognize this avatar from another VR play, The Tempest. What can I say? I'm a fanboy. And you can even start experimenting with turning your audience into things like a point of light so that they can illuminate the world around them like a firefly. So you can see very quickly how with a little bespoke modeling, you can really start bringing this universe to life. So if you'll indulge an actor, I'm going to try on this more bespoke version of my character Charlie. Bring in some stand-ins. Here's a Ryan and an Ezra. Those who have ever acted on film before know that sometimes they just give you a tennis ball, so this is already a little bit better. And I'm going to get my rabbit here and get settled. Now, in the play, Ezra and Ryan have just discovered Charlie's secret stowaway and are forcing him to explain himself before ultimately jettisoning the creature that is tearing them all apart. When the ship was going down, I was so scared. I guess the will to survive takes over, right? Ezra grabbed as much food as he could carry. Ryan raided the bar, but me, I just panicked. As I ran for the top deck, I found this little guy. He looked so pale and fluffy, frozen in the middle of the corridor. I never really thought about where he came from, but I knew I had to save him. So I scooped him into my pocket and I kept running. Our first few days on the water, I just coddled him, mostly to comfort myself. But when we lost Lisa, I'm sorry, Ezra. I knew I had to save him. He's all I have. And I'm going to get him out of this. No. No. Yeah. Ezra? Ezra, help. I can't. Do you see him? I'm sorry. I was supposed to be the one to save him. And I know you all want to applaud, so if you were in the space, you could activate those emojis that I accidentally showed you earlier, or activate your microphone so we could hear you while the actors take a bow. There is nothing like a live audience, co-creating a narrative experience that can never be perfectly repeated or predicted. That tension of shared space, hearing the laughter, the gasp, even the neighbor's dog. This past year shows us that we crave synchronous, appointment-driven experiences. Simply put, we want something to look forward to, somewhere to be. Live, immersive, and accessible. We sold out every show of the 2 runs we did in October and March. We offered a pay-what-you-want ticket and found that 64% of our audiences were willing to pay something for the show. There's the dog I was telling you about. A third of this paying audience was willing to pay $20 or more. And then we doubled our audience by streaming the POV of our stage manager out to a secondary site like YouTube or Twitch. So that's a paying audience for some experimental robot theater with no celebrities or marketing. This shows us the potential of a new creative economy, leveraging open source tools and consumer-grade materials to bring live storytelling to anyone with a web browser, and a toolkit for live entertainers who are trapped at home. So as the theater purists rush to reopen physical venues, and the technologists claim that the future will be interactive, I think the data actually show that there will be a virtual layer to our live entertainment, but we need to build tiers of these experiences to make it accessible to both participatory and passive audiences. When we remounted the show in March, we wanted to scale our efforts beyond just Jettison. And so instead, it was part of an evening of short performances. I reached out to creators all over the world that I have never met and helped them create their own virtual world in Spoke. We called the event Onboard XR, as we literally onboarded our audience onto a VR cruise ship and then took them on a dark ride through dance, theater, improvisation, and interactivity. So let's go back into my web browser, and I can use Mozilla's built-in scene switcher that lets you change the template of the room while the audience is inside of it. The lights go to black, and when we come back up, we're inside of the new world, just like a theatrical scene change, where the lights dim, we move around some scenery, and the lights can come back up inside of the new scene. For our onboard experience, we also customized the user interface and added an animation system just to see how far we could take it. Now, I can read the room, and I know where I'm presenting today, so I have to acknowledge that there are other browser-based VR solutions out there, like AltSpace. So, for good measure, I went ahead and took my 3D model of the future stages, brought it into Unity 3D, and then published it to AltSpace as its own world. So the future stages is now available on Mozilla Hubs and AltSpace.